Hello and welcome. My name is Fake Fairy Tale and this is the 9th video in the Let's Build a House series. So as some of you might notice, I did a little upgrade on my audio. I purchased a new microphone because the old one was simply giving me quite a lot of trouble, especially with the audio glitches that were in the videos at random. They were very hard to predict and I still don't know really what caused them. And it made me decide to just purchase a new one instead. And I did quite a big upgrade as well. I went from the Blue Snowball to the Blue Yeti X. So I hope this will be much better and much more pleasant to listen to and won't surprise you with any odd glitches here and there. It will perhaps the audio will change a little bit over time as I get used to setting it up and maybe find some improvements and places to make it sound a little bit better. But well, I think this is already a great step forwards. Another thing I would like to say is that I saw that I hit the 100 subscriber mark, which is really, really cool. Well, I never expected that I would get this far, even though 100 is still very, very small compared to the bigger channels out there. But still, this is it feels really good to see that so many people like the videos that I make. So thank you for all of you who are following, and let's hope I can keep it up. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Today I wanted to do some shadows and shadowing on the exterior of the building. I'll just show you the main points of interest and show you how I go about that. And afterwards, I'll just finish it all up, make sure that everything looks good, and then we'll continue to make a second floor on top of this one, and I can show you guys how I go about making some roofing as well. So one of the first things that already attracts my interests is the shading of bushes and objects that are located close to walls. The reason for that is quite simple, because when you look at especially this corner over here, which is at the back side of the building, so the building blocks out quite a lot of light, and it's already a bit darker, of course, because of the shadow that we've put down there. But there's a few extra things you can do to make this whole area make a bit more sense. And one of the things I really like to do often is add some shadow on the side that's closest to the building. So the back side, in this case, of course. And for that, I'll use like a rather small shadow path. Put it at 1.15. I think that's perfectly fine. And not forget to put it on faith in both transition in and out. And we'll just add some shadow pathing over the backside of the bushes. Are we gonna go? Let's see. This is 25, so I'll make it even a little bit darker, like this. Even though the whole area is well, probably quite a bit darker because of the building blocking out the light, especially those corners along the edges are the places that are just really the darkest. And it doesn't have to be pitch black, but toning it down just a bit will actually give some more depth to the bush itself. You see that the front side is a bit lighter. You didn't even do the layering like I did with the ferns. And if you keep doing this to all things that are close to the wall, so for example, even this rock, we can just make the backside that little bit darker. There. And maybe even a bit more. There we go. And of course, the backside of the rock, we want that to be darker as well. And we'll do the same thing over here. Make sure that we have it on the right layer. And go over that. Perfect. This will already make even the dark side of the building a bit more interesting, because you have some more depth and places where you can, adjust and put some emphasis on the shadows as well. We'll do the same thing over here. We'll add in some larger shadows. We, in one of the past videos, we discussed that the sun will be coming from the top. So we're going to give it a very, that's a bit kicking in a bit too early. I'm going to have to make it a bit smaller for that. Darker. There we go. And also on top of the rock over here, blocks out a little bit more light. And we can do some layering here as well. This is on 1. That's on 2. So if we place the shadow path on 2, we can have the shadow that the rock casts on top of the log. And we make sure that the side that's closer to the rock is darker than the other side. Now, the other side will make the shadow quite thin because from the angle, because of the angle from the sun, there won't be a very thick or dark shadow, but there's at least something here. And if you want, and that's something I do often quite like to do, is apply some shadows to objects themselves like we did indoors. So right here, let's take one that's a little bit darker. Supposedly that side of this log is a bit darker because, well, the front blocks out the sun. So the back side should be a bit darker over here as well. And you can go very nitty gritty on this if you like, but I just like to do it a little bit. Make sure that it's not just a regular log asset, but it has a bit more of interest going on there. And it will make it blend into the environment much better as well because of the dynamic lighting. And a very thin one around the edge here. Yeah, that's good. And like when you're placing down one shadow at a time, you don't see the difference all that much on occasion. It depends a bit on how thick the shadow is, of course, but in the end, if you would make a before and after image, you really see the difference, and you really see what a shadow can contribute to your map. So I really recommend taking your time for this. And it can be a bit tedious, but actually for me, it's, well, right now, usually one of the more relaxing moments of map making. There we go. And do it on this side. And we're gonna, I think I have to go on layer 4 here. Yes, and we'll make that side of the rock a bit darker as well. Awesome. You can also do this on trees actually, because right here you see that these leaves are supposed to be a bit higher than the ones underneath. So we'll go to above roof. Yeah, that's good. We'll just tone down these leaves a little bit more. Maybe this one as well. And you can do it on the other sides. Having said that, I think placing down shadows here is quite straightforward. One of the only things maybe that might be interesting to look at as well. We take a very thin path over here. Let's not put it on layer 700. And we will darken the ridge a little bit. Also to create a bit of depth and just some more interesting texture. I also see some artifacting over here. I'm going to go back and see if I can fix that up. I think that's the corner. No, that's actually the shadow. And that's also the shadow. Ah, there we go. Close enough. You can just go around the pond as well. And I'll go around the other objects, the tree trunk, the trees, and we'll do that in some fast forward. Now for the fence, I also like to put down some shadow here, and let's take a shadow path 50. because the sunlight is hitting it directly. That's also something you can play around with actually. If you do want to put down some shadow, but the pillar would, for example, be behind the building, so technically speaking, it wouldn't cast a very dark shadow because there's no direct sunlight hitting it. In this case, it would be from the window perhaps, but you can also just put it down somewhere else, further over here. I'd recommend changing your shadows to something that's a bit lighter. So for direct sunlight, I often like to use a 50 opacity shadow path. When there's no direct sunlight, you can change it to 25 and just make it a bit lighter to make it look better. You still have some drop shadow, but it wouldn't be as present as when it is when direct sunlight is hitting it. Now we want some shadow for the railing. That's a bit too thin. And I just play around with this a little bit. Like so. And we do the same thing over here. But actually, I didn't notice before, but this one would do very well with just a 25 opacity. You can also layer it like one on top of the other if you like. We're not gonna. And I always just play around a bit with the width. There we go. Now, another thing I like to do here is see from which point the sun is hitting it, and then we can use the pattern tool to make some shadows on top of the pillars and on the actual fence as well. So let's say we take the 20% here. We'll zoom in, we'll put it on layer 700 to make sure that's on top. And you can see these angles on the pillar, and you can just choose like one or two, or you can like go halfway in there. But for now, we'll just follow the ridges. And we'll add a shadow overlay on top of this pillar so that you darken it out. And well, it basically does the same thing as you do with the rocks or the shadows close to the building. It's just blending it into the environment. And you can do the same thing over here with these areas that are lower and covered, sheltered from direct sunlight. Just make them darker a little bit. These things are things that people generally don't probably notice at all. But I just do it because, well, it makes sense. And I like doing it and making sure that everything is as it should be. And like here, we will do the same thing. Go around the edge here. Go up a bit higher. And I just see where it would make sense for the sunlight to stop, and I'll just put it down there. All right. Another little trick here that you can do as well is adding some shadow pathing inside windows. So if you have the above wall, it would probably, like this pillar, this outcropping would probably cast a shadow as well. So you can add in a shadow, take the pattern tool again, and we just draw it, or maybe all the way to the back here, along the window sill. There we go. And there are minor differences, but they do count in the end. I think that's about it for now. I'm going to continue placing down some shadows, and we'll pick it up when that's finished, and see you guys in a few minutes. back again. While I was placing some shadows, I actually realized that there's one little trick I learned not that long ago, and that's when you put down these three shadows and you scroll down all the way back to 0.1. You can't go any smaller than this, or so you'd think. But actually, when you take the select tool and you click on them, you can still scale them down even further. And that's something I often use for when I want the tree shadows to be used for bushes. These tree shadows are a part of the Forgotten Adventures asset packs. So if you want these, you should go check out their Patreon, and you can download them there. But you can use that to make shadows just a bit smaller than when you'd do it in the object menu. So right now, especially for like this group of ferns over here, the shadow was just a bit too big. And if you just scale it down a little bit, and we just put it down there, it fits and it looks good. And that's how you can make objects even smaller than they are at the 0.1 in the object feature. So I did a quick round of shadowing. I didn't go too crazy here and there. Just make sure that everything looks kind of nice and tidy, which means we can progress to the next step, and that's adding a roof. If I usually work on a map, I often like to start with the outside first, and then when the outside is finished and I have the general layout of the building, I copy the layer. And the layer, with the layer I mean the level settings over here. So we're going to create a new level. We clone level, we clone ground, and we accept. So right now we have two different levels. I actually notice a little bit of brightness difference. Don't know what causes that, but oh well, doesn't really matter. And right now we're going to have to clean everything up because we have the same assets on both the layers, and that's something we don't want. But well, we're gonna have to make do. So first of all, let's continue with deleting all the lighting over here and all the objects that are in there. And we're gonna remove the flooring as well, and we just redo this part entirely. I'll actually just move you away so we can select and bulk delete a few things here, especially these pesky shadow paths. There we go. And for these ones over here, unfortunately, you can't really switch between objects, and they can be very hard to get. So what I generally do is I just delete window. Actually, in this case, we can just delete the window entirely. But otherwise, you can hover with your mouse on top of the path that you want to select. You press Ctrl Z. And right now, when you click, you can't select it, actually. That's also a little trick that I found. And that's a nice workaround because the object and the selection tool are a bit wonky. Right now, we can just remove it. So lucky us. Yay. We can just remove everything. This window can go as well, because we are probably going to have a section of roof over there. So we're not going to see it anyway. We'll remove everything over there and over there. And this always just takes a moment to finish. We'll take this out, we'll take that out. And after that, my idea is to make a small hallway, or just have it go directly into the bedroom. I think that actually might make more sense right now, because it's a very small and simple farmer house. Let's see, we have some layers here, but we can just place a floor on top of that. Take away the footsteps in the door. And actually we can just delete this inner wall entirely, because the structure upstairs is going to be much different, if not entirely And we have to make sure that we don't accidentally delete things that we are not supposed to. Because it has happened to me like so often that I realize when I, in the end, exported the map into a PNG already, and I was already done and published it, that I realized that I deleted a few things on the outside. And you know, the difference between the first layer, the first floor and the second floor. And usually people don't notice these things, but well, I do. Once you make such a mistake, you just keep seeing it every time you open that map. So we want to prevent that, of course. This is also the point where I often realize that I've been putting down quite a lot of shadows because shadows keep popping up. But I think we got it all. No, there we go. Done now. We please be done. There's something over here. Yeah, we're going to have to remove that though. And we'll position that underneath the wall. So there's got to be a slight difference, but not that much. I think we have everything. Yeah, cool. So this wall needs to be redone as well. Because oh, yeah. No, that's not true actually. We were going to make it go directly into a bedroom. So we'll go to the portal tool and we take a pretty wooden door. There we go. Now actually we can do this on the downstairs level as well. Are we? No, we're gonna do it differently. So in some cases it will look odd, like here. If you have a door there, it looks like you just walk off the stairs into the kitchen. And we don't want that. But luckily we do have some door objects. And these door objects are perfect for a situation like this. Now I do have to see if I can find it all. Door. And that's very tiny. Let's make it somewhat bigger. See if we have the... I don't think we do. That's okay. We don't want it to blend too much with the wall. So we'll just use this door. It is a slightly different color. And we just put it here. And let's mirror it because our other door is... Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now we're going to add in some floor. And we're going to put that on layer 2 so it overlaps the chimney on the outside. And let's see, we'll take this one over here. Place the layer 2. I want some grid with that as well. And we're not going to make it a very big bedroom. Not the grid, please. I think this is fine. And is it though? Is it though? You can also just put it on the back side of the house. And have that side be... I think I like it like this. So this will be our bedroom, and we'll add in a roof on the other side. And for that, we're going to go to the roof tool, and we're going to add in some wall over here. But let's first start with the wall. And we had a plaster ashen wood wall going. Always takes a moment to find it. I think, no, that ain't the same. This is. And we'll turn off the shadow. Ah, yeah, there we go. I lost it for a second. And now we'll place down the roof. Take a roof tool and we'll pick a pretty color. I don't want it to blend in too much with the environment, so I'm gonna go for something orange. He has some different types of roofs that you can use, but we'll just go for something simple. And no, I don't like that much. And the dormer, that's not gonna work. We'll go with gamble for now. And I think we can actually widen it out a little bit. We'll do a manual. Oh, that is not exactly what I want to do. But this might work. No, go for the quick box. Roofs remain something that's just a bit iffy and not that easy to do. But oh well. We'll get there. We'll remove these pillars. And one of the annoying things about the roof is that it always overlaps your wall. Because it's on the layer 800, if I recall correctly. So it's always going to be on top of the wall. And in some cases, that's not too bad. In this case, this is annoying because we have a wall on the right side, which we want to show on top of the roof. And luckily, and I'm going to redo it once more. It has to be a bit bigger. Roof tool, big box over here. It goes all the way down. Okay. The first thing we'll do is place these pillars on layer 900 above the roof. And is there one over there as well? No, there isn't, so that's okay. And we're going to take some some wall objects. So wall plaster. And we'll place that on layer 900 as well. Turn off the shadows. And now we actually can place the wall on top of the roof. And we're going to have a pillar over there. We'll just scooch that one over. And I want it to be more or less the same as the rest of the building, of course. And we can just snap it to grid to make sure that it looks, that it's straight. And that's a bit weird. Can we place it over? No. And I just play around with this a little bit. Make sure that it aligns. Those sides don't have to fit in perfectly. And we do one over here. And then there is a nice block like this. Actually, don't want that one. I want this one. We just place it over to make sure it all blends in. There we go. And we want a bit of wall over there as well. But first we will copy and paste our pillar. Copy, paste. And we place it on layer 900 all the way down here to make sure that it blends in with the wall perfectly. We'll take another object piece of wall. That's too large. And we will have it go underneath these. Voila. Now we move over this one. And we put it on layer 900. All right. And I still have a pretty wall that overlaps with your roof. Adding in some windows, it's possible, I think. I haven't done it that much. Let's see if we can make it work here. I'm not sure if that's... no, not for now. It's not the end of the world. I might look into and see if I can get this to work as soon as possible. You could basically, if you use, for example, these metal ones, you can just position them on top and place them in there. And if you do that with wooden ones, I can't find them right now, but you get the same result. And well, that's it. For the rest of the walls, you can just use some new windows. And then you have your roof. We want to add some trimming on the roof as well. let's see, and then you have these paths over here, which are called the stair railing, which works, but there is another one, I believe. Where did it go? Yeah, you can use shingles, of course, but I think in a simple farmhouse, it's better to have it be wooden. There we go. That's perfect. Just place it on one in width, and we go for the above roof. This time we're not going to have it fade. We're going to put it to none in both cases, and we'll just align it up here. So, and we'll go along the edge over here. Do the same thing over here. And now it still looks kind of weird, especially these sections in the corners over here. So to get rid of that, we are going to add this roof object. Rude. I'm not sure what the name is. Roof lining wood. That's the one that you want to have. And right now it's on scale 1.1. We don't like that. So we'll put it down a little bit. We'll place it on top. Make sure it overlaps on both sides. For these corners, you can either use this, which works perfectly fine, I think, if you ask me. Looks quite good. Have to get the correct size. And you can see some minor differences in there, but oh well, let's be honest, nobody's going to notice that. But alternatively, you can use the staircase, the wooden staircase. And they have these little blocks, these ones, and I really like using them to make these corners look just a bit better, as if they come together over there. And you put it down over here, and that's all right for now. And now we want to add in some shadows as well, of course, just like we did in the rest. And if the roof and the center beam would be horizontally, you'd definitely have one side of the building being, or of the roof being much darker than the other one. Right now, I actually noticed that the left side is darker, and DungeonDraft and Forgotten Adventures have some tool built in for that. You have sun direction. And I don't know what the exact angles are. I always just play around with it a little bit. So I want it to be somewhere over here, where both sides are equally lit up. I will use some shadow path along the edges here to make it all blend in a little bit better. So let's see, just use some for the edges over here. Put both sides on fade. Turn down the width. And I always like adding it to the center section here as well. Doesn't have to be too dark. I actually have it on fade on both sides. That's not necessary. Over here. And we will add it along this line, because the roof lining will cast at least some shadow. I actually think this is maybe even a bit too big. Just go to 0.2, do it again. Put that down there. You can do it over here as well. An important thing to notice is that there's no shadow path or no path that can overlap with something that's on layer 900. So, well, that's just, you're gonna have to live with that. Not something you can change. You can make it very thin on this side, just for the details. And maybe it will look good, but I always just play around with that a little bit to have the backside be just a little bit darker. Yeah, I think I like that. And you can take quite a while to get this all to work. Actually, I do notice that we want this smoke to be that much higher. And we want at least some section of the chimney to overlap with everything that's up here as well. So I think that should be, that's actually the smoke. We'll just scooch it over a little bit, take that one. And if we put you on layer 700, that just doesn't look good. We'll put you layer 900. That's our chimney. And reposition the smoke to be coming out of the chimney. And I shouldn't forget to put this back here as well. Awesome. Great. I like how this looks. So right now I can continue finishing up the bedroom and talk you through that, but to be honest, it's just the same thing as that we did downstairs. I am going to finish it and I will discuss it in the next video. However, in the next video, we do wrap up this map. I could go ahead and give it an evening conversion so that we darken the outside and put down some more lights, change up the shadowing a little bit. But I'll see that. I'll see if I will do that in the next video. So thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like, favorite, or subscribe button. It really helps my video be seen. And I actually see that I made a bit of boo-boo there. I don't know what I did. Oh well, I'm getting distracted. Nevertheless, I'm going to wrap up this and I'll see you again in the next video.